At a glance, Julian Sturgis' career was one heavily dominated by the arts, making a name for himself as a poet, novelist, and lyricist. However, buried amongst a vast list of literary and musical achievements is a brief, but nonetheless remarkable, footballing career for the Oxford graduate. This is a story of Julian Sturgis, the FA Cup's first foreigner. Julian Sturgis was born in Boston, Massachusetts, to a distinguished line of merchants involved in trade with China. At just 7 months of age, the family moved to England, as his father, Russell Sturgis, took up a job with the now defunct Barings Bank. Amongst Julian's siblings were Henry, who had gone to become a politician, and Howard, a future novelist. Julian Sturgis was educated at Eton College, and alongside his linguistic duties, including editing the Eton College Journal, it was here that he had his first foray into sports, being trained in ball and field football, separate disciplines of the game that originated at the college itself. Wall football entailed points being scored by controlling the ball up against a large brick wall before being allowed opportunity to score extra points by hitting a target at the other end of the pitch of the ball. Field football, in contrast, could be seen as a hybrid of the rules of rugby and association football, whereby points are scored either by scoring it in football or by controlling the ball in the area behind the opponent's goal line before having the opportunity to add an extra 2 points via a conversion. He maintained his athleticism in his college years, where he amassed 3 years of rowing experience while studying at Balliol College at Oxford University. He would graduate from university in 1872, and from here he would begin his efforts to enter the legal profession, with Sturgis studying towards becoming a barrister. However, he remained active in sports and joined the amateur side Wanderers FC, a club of a name that made reference to the fact that whilst being based in Leytonstone, they did not have a home stadium and played at various grounds across London. He joined Wanderers at a very strong moment in time, as the year prior they had emerged victorious in the first ever edition of the Football Association Challenge Cup, more commonly known as the FA Cup. A 1-0 win over Royal Engineers in 1872 had not only won Wanderers the inaugural FA Cup, but earned them a bye to the final the following year, with this being the original intent of the Challenge Cup, whereby the other clubs would play for the rights to challenge the holders in a final. This, however, was averted the following season, meaning Wanderers would be the only team in FA Cup history to benefit from this rule, as they automatically qualified for the 1873 final, where they faced some potentially familiar faces to Sturgis in Oxford University. Oxford had fought some tough ties against Crystal Palace, Clapham Rovers, Royal Engineers and Maidenhead to reach a semi-final, only conceding twice along the way. They progressed from the semi-final after their opponents Queen's Park withdrew from the competition on financial grounds. As the reigning holders, Wanderers were permitted to choose the venue for the big occasion, and with no home stadium to choose, they elected to hold the game at the Lily Bridge ground in London, where Stamford Bridge stands today. As their opponents were Oxford University, the game was moved to the morning so not to clash with their other prize sporting event, the Oxford-Cambridge men's boat race. Wanderers were without several key players to the final, including a first-choice goalkeeper, as well as 4 of their cup-winning side from the previous year, 3 of whom were out due to injury, the other being Walpole Vidal, who would represent Oxford in this final instead, having enrolled in their university a year prior. Playing alongside Julian Sturgis would be William Kenyon Slaney, a captain in the Grenadier Guards Regiment, who days before had become the first ever player to score in a recognised international, netting twice for England against Scotland. Oxford University dominated early proceedings in the game, but it was Wanderers who would take the lead, as Arthur Kinnaird outpaced both defenders to score. Kinnaird would eventually be named man of the match for his dribbling skills in that final, and would star in 9 FA Cup finals in his career, a record that stands to this day. Wanderers soon had the ball in the net, courtesy of Kenyon Slaney. However, this would be disallowed due to an infringement of the offside rule. In the second half, Oxford University would pile on the pressure in search of an equaliser, but their fortunes would go from bad to worse. Firstly, they too, like Wanderers, would have a goal disallowed. They would soon forfeit the role of goalkeeper, asking Andrew Leach to go forward and join their attackers in search of a goal. They then suffered an injury, as England's first captain, Cuthbert Ottaway, was forced to withdraw from the game, reducing Oxford to 10 men, as the game predated the introduction of substitutions. Around 80 minutes, Charles Wollaston broke away for Wanderers and scored into an unguarded goal. 2 goals to good, Wanderers held on till full time to win the game and retain their title as FA Cup champions. In doing so, Julian Sturgis became the first American and first non-Brit to win the FA Cup. Though Wanderers would rack up another 3 FA Cup victories before they disbanded in the mid-1880s, Sturgis would not be a part of these teams. He would still have a mark on the competition, however. 2 years after having his first written work published in Blackwood's magazine, Sturgis was also playing for Old Etonians, and with the Berkshire side, he'd returned to haunt Oxford University once more, scoring the only goal of the game to knock Oxford out in the FA Cup semi-final stage and secure Old Etonians' entry to the final. The tables would be turned on Julian Sturgis, however, as in the final they faced his former side, Wanderers, at the Oval in Kennington. Though the two sides initially played out a 1-1 draw in the final, Wanderers would walk out 3-0 winners in the finals replay. Sturgis would dust himself off and his good fortunes would continue. In 1877, he was formally granted British nationality, and the following year, he would have his first novel, John o' Dreams, published, with a second novel to come in the following year. The works were described as light comedies, mostly set at Oxford or Eton colleges. He resumed his football career as well, playing for Football Association founding members Gitternos Football Club, as well as also playing for Middlesex at county football level. But he did not taste much further success in the game. In 1883, Sturgis was married to Mary Maud Delapere Beresford, with whom he would have 3 children. He would go on to publish over 5 novels, whilst the 1890s would see him branch out into writing poetry, as well as librettos, the text of which operas are based on. His first opera, Ivanhoe, was a success and played for 155 consecutive performances, a grand opera record. He would also go on to write operatic adaptations of works by William Shakespeare and Charles Dickens for the stage, with reviewers praising his faithfulness to the source material. Sturgis would not see all these make the stage though, as in 1904 he passed away in his London house at the age of 55 after a battle with a long illness. His cremated remains were buried near his other home, Greyfriars in Wandscote, where long-term family friend Henry James wrote of Julian's beautiful, noble, stainless memory, without a shadow of grossness or meanness or ugliness. Julian Sturgis had enjoyed a life that saw him excel in many of the fields which he was most passionate. His written works were well received, and as a footballer, he played in some of the most successful teams in football's early years. He remains the first foreigner to play in and win an FA Cup final, as well as the first American to play for a major European team. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video on the AFC Finners channel. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please have a look at the channel down below and check out the hundreds of videos available. If you'd like to support the channel on Patreon, you can do so in the link below for as little as £1 a month. Please let me know what you thought of this video and what topic you'd like me to cover next. See you next time.